Hello all, what I'd like to do in this video is to talk you through the pieces we have left out of the lesson plan at this point so you have this going forward. And the advantage that you're going to have is you're going to have this on a video so you can refer to it from time to time if you need to. So the first thing that we've left out, one of the things is the pre-assessment. We've left out the pre-assessment because you're not in the classroom enough to be able to pre-assess students. What this is used for, this piece is used for if you're going to teach a lesson next week. Let's say that you want to teach a lesson. You're going to give your students perhaps a pre-test to find out what they know and what they don't know. And then when you're finished with the lesson or the unit, you're going to give them the same test again to see what they've learned. This piece right here, in its nature, because it's a pre-assessment, instructs your instruction. It tells you what they need, what they don't need. If they already have that information, you don't need to go back and redo it. You just move on and add other things in. It also gives you down and dirty assessment when you're finished to see what they've learned from your teaching. Now, to this academic language section. These first couple things are relatively simple. Identify a language function. All you put in here is the verb from your standard and your objective. So your verb may be describe or demonstrate, cause and effect, calculate. That's all that goes here. One word, no explanation, nothing. One word, or if it's cause and effect or whatever your verb is, goes right here. That's it. Nothing else except the verb. But this must match your verb in your standard and your objective. That's why I've been telling you how important that is to be sure that you have that standard and objective tight. That's what goes here. Just the verb. Pure and simple. The content-specific words. What content-specific words from your lesson do students need to understand prior to your lesson? What do they need to know before they do the lesson? What new words are you going to be introducing? This is all to do with vocabulary. What supports will be provided? How are you going to know that they already know those words? And what are you going to do to ensure their vocabulary learning during your lesson? That's what goes here. This one and this one, these first two, are just simply lists of words. Period. End of conversation. No explanation. Simply lists of words. This needs explanation. What supports? What are you going to do? What strategies are you going to use? What are you going to do to ensure this they already know and this they will learn? What are you going to do for that? Now, this next one tends to be the one that throws everybody a little bit. Given the language function, which is your one word, your verb, your bloom. Given that, your verb. Describe a syntax or discourse demand which is placed on the students, blah, 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 blah. Now you look at your assessment here. This is where you look at your assessment to tie this whole lesson plan together. What's your verb? How are they demonstrating that they've met the standard and satisfied your objective with your assessment? If your assessment is they are going to write the ending to a story, that's discourse. Discourse includes structures of written and oral language. If they're debating, whatever the students are doing, if the students are debating a topic in social studies, that's discourse. If they are solving problems in mathematics, that's discourse. If, however, They are showing you they understand in mathematics using manipulatives. They're doing something with their little fingers. That's syntax. They will be able to demonstrate a bar graph using Unifix cubes. That's syntax. If they are writing, if they are speaking, it's going to be discourse. In PE, it's almost always going to be syntax because they are showing you their proficiency with throwing a ball or bouncing a ball or rolling a ball or with archery or whatever. That's almost always going to be syntax. Depends on your assessment. You always have to go back to your assessment. That's why I said from the very beginning that standard, objective, and assessment have to be tight. If they're tight, the whole lesson plan will flow. If they're wonky, you're going to run into trouble. And this is where you're going to find your problems, right down here. I hope that makes sense. It gives you some examples. The verbiage that they use here, syntax and discourse, make absolutely no sense to me and to most other people. But you will find this when you do the EdTPA during your student teaching, because this is part of the EdTPA. That's why it's here. We have argued and argued and argued that it needs to be gone because it's completely redundant, but it's right here. So basically what you're doing here is you're matching your verb to your assessment and then giving the reason why it's this or that. This has to be written out in paragraph form. Now, can you have two? Can you have discourse and syntax in the same lesson? Yes, you can. So let's go back to the Unifix cube example. Students will demonstrate they can whatever with Unifix cubes, then they will write out the directions on exactly how they figured that out. That's both. You just have to justify it here. I hope this makes sense, or this helps in a way that will help you going forward. Again, what supports will be provided? What are you doing? Are you using a rubric if it is a written piece? Are you using a checklist? What are you using? How are you getting them to do this? You have to tell your supports. When it asks for supports, it's what are you as the teacher doing? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know and we can look at it again. Now, learning theories. We've taken that out because a lot of you have not had educational psychology. The learning theories. Which learning theory or theorist drives this lesson's instructional method? You put the learning theorist, whether you use Bloom or Skinner or any of them, Vygotsky, Piaget, whatever. But then you have to explain how that theorist or that theory works with this lesson. You can't just say, well, this is a first grade reading lesson, so it's obviously Vygotsky. That's not enough. Why? What makes it Vygotsky? What makes it that? So I hope this is helpful for you. And if it isn't, if you have questions, please let me know. You have my cell phone number. You can call me, you can text me, you can email. I'm just kind of hanging out with the cats, and the cats are loving it. They're not quite sure why I'm home, but so just let me know if this doesn't work for you, or if you need further explanation. I will be glad to help if I at all possibly can. What I would like for you to do in the meantime, this is what I want you to do. Chances are very good that you're not going to be back in the schools. I would say that's pretty much a given at this point, but we will see. I want you to wait for a little bit, just